everyone, and welcome to this inspiration podcast on inclusive leadership. I'm Hamza from Decathlon Exchange, and today I'm with Sophie from Decathlon Belgium to discuss the subject of diversity and inclusion and to share with you some practices that you can apply in order to be more inclusive as a leader. Welcome, Sophie, and thank you for this exchange and for your time. Before we begin, could you share a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure, Hamza. Thanks for the invite. I'm really happy to be here today. As you said, I'm working for Decathlon Belgium, and I am pace setter on the diversity and inclusion. Pace setter is a specific role in Belgium. It is the person who really makes the subject live inside the network and give it a rhythm.
Thank you, Sophie. Pace setter for diversity and inclusion. So, to begin with, Sophie, what is diversity? What is inclusion? And what is the difference?
So diversity is really when you consider each one as unique and you value the differences between the people. As inclusion is when you create an environment where everyone feels included and valued. For example, when you're organizing a party, you can say that your party is open to all. That is going to bring a lot of diversity among the guests. But if you really want to have an inclusive party, you'll make sure that, for example, in the food options, you have options for meat lovers, but also for vegetarian or vegan.
I really like the practice of valuing the differences. Thank you, Sophie, for this definition and also the explanation of the difference. I think it's important that the definition is clear because it is the first step that helps us to take concrete actions. In your opinion, Sophie, how important is diversity and inclusion for Decathlon?
Well, we can see that it's really an evolution of the society towards more social justice. We've seen it last year, for example, with the Black Lives Matters movement and the Me Too movement. And for me, it is important that Decathlon stay connected to the evolution of a society. We can see that stakeholders, is it teammates or even clients, are really demanding companies now to be representative of the society they are living in, and that the company are also working towards more equity.
Yeah, I think this representation and equity is important to also serve the purpose of Decathlon to be useful to people and to their planet. And precisely on this topic, Sophie, in order for me to be a more inclusive leader, what should I be aware of? Where do I start if I want to go one step further?
I think when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it is important to start by yourself, to know where you're coming from, what your values are, what your strengths are, but also what your biases are. To better know yourself will allow you to develop more authentic relationship. And for the second step, I would say be in the curiosity. Be in the curiosity of others, of what makes them unique. Be in the curiosity of the differences. For example, when you recruit for your team, the question you can ask yourself is, who is not in my team today? What are the skills that are missing in my team? Most of the time, what we are doing is counterfeit. We rely on the familiar. We will recruit people with the same profile that people we have recruited before. And we are looking for people who are going to fit in Decathlon value. Where I think we can go towards more a culture head idea. So when you focus on culture head, you will focus on bringing new perspective inside the team. And when you are interviewing the candidates, you're not asking, is it going to fit in Decathlon values, but what does this candidate can add to Decathlon culture?
Yeah, I really like that. It gives a lot of food for thought. Have I been practicing culture fit? And I find that this practice of culture add can really make a big difference. And it can, of course, be fun as we practice it as well. And as a leader, I am also at the service of a project. According to you, what makes an inclusive project?
If we're talking about project, I think you can ask yourself this question: who is not taken into account in my project, and why are they not taken into account? We have a tendency to try to be equal to everybody and not to search for more equity. For example, if you give the exact same bike to a family, you're being equal, right? But this bike might be too big for the kid and maybe mom size, but definitely too small for the dad. So when you're working towards more equity and you're asking yourself who is not taken into your account, you will bring more creative solution. For example, in Belgium, we know that our teammates were very satisfied with the Decathlon vest, but not all our teammates. We realized that pregnant women, the Decathlon vest that existed, were not fitted to their morphology. They didn't even have access to the pockets, for example. So they were not taken into account in the creation of the Decathlon vest. So we decided to design a special pregnant woman vest that will suit them better.
I really like that example because we are really creating an environment to celebrate differences. And I think that's a first step also to practice diversity and inclusion, because if we don't create the environment, then we will not be even able to imagine, okay, can we welcome people who are different from us. So thank you for sharing that. It's also something to think of when we design our products. When we design our products, we can also think of what are the use cases we are not covering, and perhaps the practice of culture ad can help us improve and grow the base of people that we serve. I think also in our responsibility, Sophie, as a leader, I have the responsibility to bring out decisions through collective intelligence. How can I do this so that decisions can be more inclusive?
That is a really good question, Amsa. To make sure that the collective intelligence decision are inclusive, first you must create the condition. You must bring diversity inside your collective. You must also make sure that your collective is representative of the society you are in, and that the people that are concerned by that decision are included in the collective. Once you have created these conditions of diversity, you must also make sure that the decision process is inclusive. Does the decision process is based on concrete criteria? Will it actually allow you to take a decision? And in the process, does it allows everyone's voice to be taken into account?
On that account, we will end the podcast here. Thank you so much, Sophie. You have not only given us practices that we can apply, but also really important questions for us to reflect on so that we can be more inclusive leader.